In every family, secrets can hide behind the smiles we share at the dinner table. But when the truth comes to light, it can tear everything apart. What happens when love, resentment, and trust collide? Watch as one woman's desperation to escape a suffocating family bond sets off a chain of events that no one saw coming, and the shocking truth will leave you speechless. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, don't miss out on more gripping stories like this. Hit that subscribe button and join us on this journey of family drama, shocking revelations, and unforgettable moments. You won't want to miss what's coming next. In the heart of Umyanid, a tranquil village bordered by lush forests and expansive farmland, the Okafor family compound stood as a testament to generations of resilience. Its thatched roofs and red earth walls whispered tales of ancestors who had weathered storms and celebrated harvests. On this bright afternoon, the compound brimmed with life. Children played under the mango tree, their laughter mixing with the rhythmic sound of pounding yam from the women in the open-air kitchen. But inside the family house, tension simmered like a pot on the fire. Tony Okafor, the firstborn son, had recently brought his wife Ada into the family home after their church wedding, a union celebrated with pomp and ceremony. Ada was young, beautiful, and hardworking, a woman who had quickly earned her place in the heart of the villagers. Yet, despite her charm, there was one person she had failed to win over: Mama Okafor. Mama Okafor, a stout woman with piercing eyes and a voice that could silence a crowd, was not one to be easily impressed. Her reputation as the matriarch of the family preceded her, and she wore it like a crown. Ada's every action seemed to fall short of Mama's impossible standards. Today was no different. The family had gathered for a shared meal, a practice deeply rooted in their tradition. On the long wooden table were steaming plates of jollof rice, tender goat meat, and fried plantains. Ada had spent the entire morning preparing the feast, determined to show her love for the family despite Mama's cold treatment. But as the plates were set, Mama Okafor made a move that stopped everyone in their tracks. "Mama, why are you switching plates?" Ada asked, her voice quivering as Mama Okafor slid a plate meant for Ada toward herself. "Why shouldn't I? Is there a law against it?" Mama replied, her tone sharp. Ada's husband Tony, ever the peacemaker, intervened. "Mama, it's the same food. Ada cooked everything herself. What does it matter which plate you eat from?" Mama squinted at Ada, her lips curling into a faint smirk. "Tony, you don't understand. When you've lived as long as I have, you learn to trust your instincts. If she's not hiding anything, why should it bother her?" Ada's heart raced. She glanced at Tony, hoping he would stand firm. But before he could respond, Mama added, "Or maybe she's worried about what I might find in this plate." The courtyard, once filled with chatter, fell silent. The children stopped playing, sensing the tension in the air. Tony's younger brother Emeka, a sharp-tongued bachelor known for stirring the pot, sauntered over, his curiosity piqued. "Mama, what are you insinuating?" Emeka asked, folding his arms. "I'm saying what I saw," Mama replied, her voice firm. "This morning, while we were praying, I noticed Ada fiddling with something in the kitchen. I didn't think much of it then, but now..." Ada's eyes widened. "Mama, how can you accuse me of such a thing? I've done nothing but respect and care for you since I married Tony." Mama leaned back in her chair, her gaze unyielding. "Then eat the food," she said. Tony sighed, rubbing his temples. "Mama, please. Ada cooked this meal out of love. Let's not ruin the day with baseless accusations." But Mama was unmoved. "Baseless, you say? Tony, you may trust your wife blindly, but I've seen things in my time. If there's nothing to hide, let her eat." The challenge hung in the air like a heavy cloud. Emeka, ever the opportunist, decided to lighten the mood, or so he thought. He picked up the plate Mama had swapped and said, "Fine, if nobody trusts anyone, I'll eat it myself." "No!" Ada screamed, her voice breaking. She snatched the plate from Emeka, her hands trembling. The courtyard erupted in chaos. Tony stepped forward, his voice rising. "Ada, what's going on? Why are you so adamant about this plate?" Ada sank to her knees, tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't mean for it to come to this." Mama Okafor stood, her hands on her hips. Didn't mean for what, Ada? Speak clearly. Through her sobs, Ada confessed. I wanted Mama to leave. She's made my life unbearable since I married Tony. I just wanted peace in my own home. The crowd gasped. Even the children, too young to grasp the gravity of the situation, felt the weight of Ada's words. Tony staggered backward, his face a mask of disbelief. Ada, are you saying you tried to harm my mother? Ada shook her head vehemently. No, I didn't mean to hurt her. I just wanted her gone. Mama Okafor's voice thundered. So, you thought the best way to achieve that was to poison me? You're even more foolish than I thought. The elders of the family, who had been quietly observing the drama, stepped forward. Chief Anyura, a respected uncle, cleared his throat. This is a grave matter, he said. Ada, do you understand the consequences of your actions? Ada nodded, her head bowed in shame. I wasn't thinking clearly. I regret it deeply. Tony, his voice trembling with anger, said, Ada, pack your things and leave this house. I can't look at you right now. Ada's cries grew louder. Tony, please. I love you. I was just overwhelmed. Mama's constant criticisms. I couldn't take it anymore. But Tony was resolute. You tried to harm my mother, Ada. That's something I can't forgive. As Ada retreated to gather her belongings, the courtyard buzzed with murmurs. Neighbors who had overheard the commotion began to gather at the compound's edge, their faces a mix of shock and curiosity. Gossip spread quickly in Amunid, and this scandal would be the talk of the village for weeks. Mama Okafor, though visibly shaken, maintained her composure. She turned to Tony and said, You see now? This is the woman you married. I warned you, but you wouldn't listen. Tony's voice was cold. Mama, this isn't the time for I told you so. Let's just deal with the situation. Emika, who had been unusually quiet, finally spoke. Tony, I think this calls for a family meeting. The elders should decide what happens next. Chief Anyura nodded in agreement. Yes, this matter concerns the entire family. We must address it properly. That evening, the elders convened in the family parlor, a room adorned with framed photos and woven mats. The atmosphere was tense as the elders debated Ada's fate. Some argued for forgiveness, citing her youth and inexperience, while others insisted she must leave immediately. Meanwhile, Ada sat alone in the guest room, her packed bags beside her. She stared at the floor, her mind racing with regret. She had acted out of desperation, but now she faced the possibility of losing everything: her home, her husband, and her dignity. When the meeting concluded, Tony entered the room. His face was expressionless as he said, The elders have decided. You'll leave tomorrow morning. They believe you need time away to reflect on your actions. Ada nodded silently. She knew there was no point in arguing. The next morning, as the first rays of sunlight bathed the village in gold, Ada stepped out of the compound, her belongings balanced on her head. She avoided eye contact with the villagers who had gathered to watch her departure. Mama Okafor stood by the gate, her expression a mix of triumph and sadness. As Ada walked down the dusty road, she realized the magnitude of her mistake. She had allowed resentment to cloud her judgment, and now she was paying the price. But deep in her heart, she vowed to make amends, even if it took a lifetime. Back at the compound, Tony sat on the porch, his head in his hands. He loved Ada deeply, but her actions had shattered his trust. Mama Okafor, sensing his turmoil, placed a hand on his shoulder. My son, she said, this is a hard lesson, but it's one you needed to learn. Marriage is not just about love, it's about wisdom and vigilance. Tony nodded, though his heart ached. He knew the road ahead would be long and uncertain, but he resolved to rebuild his family's trust and find peace amidst the turmoil. And so, life in the Okafor compound continued, marked by lessons learned and bonds tested. In the end, the family's story became a cautionary tale, a reminder of the importance of communication, respect, and the enduring strength of familial love.